Hello, my name is Rachel Kremnitzer, and I am a regional revenue manager for Hilton. In my role, I support America's franchised hotels within the revenue management sector. Prior to joining corporate, I had worked at several hotels at the front desk. I genuinely loved interacting with guests, being the heart of house, and providing the light and warmth of hospitality, which continued the trajectory of my career. When an opportunity for me to go behind the scenes and support hotels in the RM world came about, I jumped at it. 10 years later, and I am so happy to say that we are contributing to the future of RM and hospitality. Joined here with me today is Dan Reeder. Dan, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
I would love to. Thank you, Rachel. My name is Dan Reeder. My current role is Director of Revenue Management for Franchise Hotels. That role is split into two functions. One is supporting large management companies, and then the second part is supporting the commercial engine. First, how do I support management companies? Well, I support their revenue management teams by identifying opportunities for their hotels to drive performance. I help them make more money. Second, I support Hilton's commercial engine in being the hotel subject matter expert in planning and developing global strategy, initiatives, and enhancements that shape the future of Hilton's commercial strategy. I started in the hospitality world in 1994. Seems like a long time ago. I started in the accounting department for a small hotel in Missoula, Montana, which of course is where all great careers begin. My plan was for this to be a short-term position while I studied and completed my CPA exam and certification. However, at some point, contributing to the success of a hotel became more important than auditing other businesses, and a short-term position became a lifelong career. So, Rachel, why don't you share with us what you enjoy most about your current role?
Absolutely. I love making one-on-one connections with team members, owners, and colleagues alike, especially when I can cross collaborate with folks outside of my typical work group. I also really enjoy finding needles in haystacks when it comes to auditing, which is a big part of my current role, such as like a program that might be closed off for a large sum of hotels. When I was hotel facing, of course, you did that more on a micro level, but looking at a macro, very high level for thousands of hotels really keeps me on my toes. And of course, just like you said, we love to help hotels generate more revenues. So that is truly what I enjoy. What about you?
Well, thank you. And I think very similar to you in many ways. My 30-year career or so, I've had the opportunities to speak with thousands of hotels across North America. And while my role is primarily to help them and those hotels and those team members, I've always learned something from each and every conversation. Learning something new about a location, an interesting person, or an interesting business challenge. My second favorite part of the role is helping others develop their career. Today, throughout this country, are people I have known for 20 plus years. Many I've had the opportunity to play a role in their career and their development, whether it's hiring them or mentoring them or just supporting them in their development as they grow and achieve amazing feats within this industry. So, Rachel, within your career today, how is it that you interact within the organization?
I would say I'm very fortunate to work with many moving parts through large scale projects that required that work with other departments. For example, I recently acted as a project manager for a large scale rollout of enhancements to our revenue management system. And so I worked with business teams, vendors, and analytics to keep everyone abreast of deadlines and really just get to that finish line. I've also worked with projects related to our negotiated business, and this really does require a lot of collaboration with different teams. That includes sales, analytics, project management, pricing, and our brands. And that is really to ensure that we are all aware of the goals, the deliverables, and the initiatives being put forward by each team. In my day to day as well, I act as a liaison for revenue management, kind of like what we talked about previously. And that faces our hotels directly. So when a team member has questions, I, amongst my colleagues, assist in any way we can, whether that's kind of a redirect for hotels to the appropriate audiences as needed, or even hopping on the phone with them to kind of walk through strategy. This helps to establish a stature with various teams in the industry and above. And truly, above all else, it creates an atmosphere for networking. So I feel very fortunate to have different stakeholders and just work with various different teams in my role. What about you?
When I think back to the start of my career in Missoula, Montana, I spent most of my time in a secluded office in the accounting department. It's odd reflecting back to that silo, comparing that to my role today.
Mhm.
Today, my role, as many of us in revenue management, I interact with in every part of our organization: digital sales, commercial performance, our global brand heads, change management, training, RM solution, as well as our franchise partners, owners, uh, and really every single part of this organization. I now have an opportunity to have an influence and be able to be a part of things that are moving and developing and changing within our industry. Revenue management has truly moved from the back room, and it's important to what we do and where we are going. Rachel, somebody wanted to become a commercial leader, has an interest in that as their career, what kind of advice would you give them?
So I would say to become a commercial leader, two major things are required. Number one is being an expert in your field, and number two is networking. So other leaders must be confident that you know your stuff and you're readily available to assist others. I personally believe in open door policy or teams, keeping yourself available, green button in our virtual world is necessary. And that's for leaders because they set the standard for those that report up to and look up to them. In terms of networking, it is truly important that your leaders not only know you within your umbrella, but you also must go out of your way to ensure you are visible and collaborative with other departments within the commercial engine. Finally, I do want to mention it's really important to be curious. Make sure to ask questions and look for ways to be innovative, to have a big voice at the table. In today's evolving world of technology and revenue management, we as an industry, we just can't afford to be stagnant. So definitely raise your hand if you have any thoughts or ideas to bring to the commercial engine. What about you? What would you say to someone who's interested in joining the commercial engine and becoming a leader?
Well, Rachel, I love that you share be curious. I think that is such a critical aspect of everything that we do. When I think about commercial strategy, I think of the intersection of three disciplines: revenue management, sales, and digital. When I started, it was three separate silos, and digital was really just beginning. But it's important to be an expert in one, but be familiar with all. My
Mhm.
advice, similar to what you mentioned, is to make connections. As someone in the RM field, it's important to have knowledge exchanges with those who have a different viewpoint and different experience. I would say that goes in life outside of work as well as what we do within this industry. As we make connections with other people who may have some knowledge that you may not have, you will find that many who will say yes. In fact, most will say yes. Yes to sharing their talent, their experience, and their time, and you will become a full rounded commercial leader. And I think that is the best thing that you can do. Rachel, somebody may be listening to us today who's starting out a new career in hospitality. What advice would you provide to them?
So I have a biased answer, but that is because I started at the hotel level. I would highly encourage someone to take an opportunity to work at a hotel's front desk or within their sales department. If that's not an option, try to have some conversations with those that are at the front of house. That's where it all starts. By understanding how a hotel operates and how folks engage with guests. You can then incorporate that knowledge into your everyday work. Also, don't be afraid to make mistakes. This is a big one, but make sure you own up to them when they do arise. I will never forget when a hospitality leader took a chance on me. During my interview process to join Hilton 10 years ago, there was a question asked. I answered incorrectly, but discovered my mistake toward the end of the meeting. By owning up to this error and correcting it quickly, I was able to make that human connection and acknowledge that I'm not perfect. Hospitality is truly far from perfect, but if we as an industry come together and do our best with those imperfections, we can really have a bright future. What would your advice be?
What I would say is first, congratulations on selecting an amazing industry. It's interesting, challenging, and exciting all at the same time. In the words of my favorite author, Dr. Seuss, oh, the places you will go. Along your journey, I hope you will take time to ask questions. Why was this hotel built in this location? Why do we market the hotels this way or sell a group this way or price the room the way that we do? Ask questions and be bold. One of the most important questions I've ever asked is, what would happen if we did this differently? My greatest success, my biggest fails have occurred from seeking the answer to that question. Learn and appreciate from the highs and the lows, and when the opportunity presents, share your talents, experience, and time with others.
Wonderful answer. Thank you for joining us today. Have a good day.